The whole messaging has been very consistent. You know, the delivery mechanisms and content's changed over the years. But essentially the messaging is that you're the trusted advisor. These clients look up to you. Why don't you step up and be a proactive, trusted advisor instead of being reactive? So the messaging of you've got a business to run, let me help you do that, has found for me as clients. And in Australia, I've done business with over 4,000 out of Australia and New Zealand, 4,000 out of the 12,000 firms, but now I'm also focused on the USA and Europe, where there's a lot more of them as well. Yeah. But the messaging has found the ones that want to run a business rather than just be, cardigan wearing, soft sole shoe suburban accountant.
Yeah. In this episode of The Little Black Book, I'm joined by Rob Nixon, founder and CEO of Profitable Partners. Rob helps business owners of accounting businesses improve and grow while servicing their clients better. Over his career, he has started and built 4 successful businesses, written 3 books, presented a TED Talk, and run a marathon. Rob also, as detailed by the Australian Golf Digest magazine, is the owner of the world's best backyard golf course. In this episode, Rob shares how he identified a clear business niche which enabled him to scale a highly successful business and the importance of saying no to distractions. He shares with us his learnings from being removed by the board of the company he founded, of which he is still the majority shareholder. Rob discusses his goal-setting process and the importance of the visual engagement in the achievement of those goals. He speaks about his current business and how he has designed it to achieve the goals he has established. And he also discusses how he engages with his coaches and mentors to maintain optimum performance. Welcome to The Little Black Book, a podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs who provide their first-hand experiences to help others learn and grow. This podcast is brought to you by Altitude Advisory. Altitude Advisory is a modern business advisory firm helping business owners build a better business for a better life.
Hi there, I'm Rob Nixon. Absolute joy to be on the Little Black Book podcast with you today.
Mate, favourite movie of all time?
Anything with James Bond in it, and I'm very excited about the next one.
Okay. No particular James Bond movie. Is there a favourite James Bond actor that you're all over, or?
Oh, I just love them all. I love the style, the classiness, the cheekiness, the scenery, the action. It's just a great franchise. I watch them all.
Yeah.
And I watch them over and over again all the time.
Yeah. No, very cool. What about a book that as a child or a young adult that had a real effect on you and why?
So I was hitchhiking from Brisbane to Dubbo in 1988, and I was picked up by an old horse trainer in Moree, and I lived in Dubbo at the time.
Yeah. And
he said at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you've got to go out and buy Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
And of course, I was 18 years old, had no idea about all this stuff. And that book led me on a journey of self-improvement, self-development. And now 500 plus books later, I'm still avidly reading all sorts of thought leaders. That was the first one, the most significant one.
Yeah. What was some of the, because there's some great stories or whatever in that book. Was there any particular that stood out or had a real impact on you?
I think the whole idea about masterminding and being around good quality people all the time, and there's been various variations of that over the years, but just being super aware of who's around me at any one time.
Yeah. And I know you're pretty protective with that, in terms of, who you do surround yourself with and who you take feedback from. Given that, and, this sort of leads into a question a bit later on, but how do you go about filtering those things and I guess protecting your own space, Rob, with those people that you do hang out with?
Yeah, so we'll get into the golf course later on, I'm sure, but there's an example of, with what I've set up my golf course in my front yard, we've got 126 members, right? And but there's a bunch of them I wouldn't have a beer with after the first round.
Yeah.
So I pick and choose and just keep it close and tight and make sure that I'm not the smartest person in the room. Make sure that the people are positive, forward thinking, they're not idiots.
Yeah.
They're just good quality people. So, and always look at that to get rid of, as one of my mentors, Dan Depani, calls the energy vampires. I'm consciously always doing that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good point. Those energy vampires, it's something that everybody could, do a stock take of pretty regularly to say, look,
Yeah.
are these people filling me up or emptying me out? So
Yeah, you bet.
what about travel? I know you've done a lot of travel, both for, personally and lifestyle, but for work as well. Has there been a particular travel experience that's been really, transformative for you in your journey as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I was traveling up until the pandemic hit, about 80 to 100 flights a year consistently for 25 years. That's a lot of travel.
It's a lot of travel.
And a lot of countries. Well, one year I was tracking all my flights on a product called Flight Diary, and I just posted up like the graph of the year. And someone quipped on Facebook, you spent 5% of the year in the air, right? Which is just bonkers when you think about it. And that's plus, sitting in the seat and to and fro in the lounges and all that sort of stuff. But the most significant trip, I think, was probably my first big trip, not business, totally pleasure. A little bit of business. I was 19 years old, 10 weeks. I flew to Abu Dhabi when I was 19, helped to set up family business in the UAE. Then I went to England, then I went to the USA, then to Canada, then back to England and back to Abu Dhabi. And on the way, a 10-week trip on the way home. 10-week circle trip.
Yeah.
And I think that one had the most impact because it opened my eyes, particularly in the UAE. And back then it was very formative. This is the late 80s, very formative growth of country, but it opened my eyes to what's possible if there's money and imagination involved.
Yeah. No, that's definitely the case. And I mean, I know we will talk about golf, but you're an avid golfer like I am. Like just through there where, you're in the middle of the deserts and you see some of the most spectacular golf courses imaginable and you go, how do they even do that?
Yep. So, imagination and money.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Mate, we first met, you were my first, I guess, business coach or mentor going back, quite a while ago now. And you had this niche about working with accountants and it's been a strong part of your career. Mate, how did you get started with accountants? Because it is it's a bit random, let's be honest. They're not always easy to coach or easy to teach. But mate, what's the attraction? And then, perhaps extend on that. How important has been maintaining that niche to your business success?
Yes, I'll tell you the story of how I got involved with accountants and then why I've stuck with them. So I mentioned when I was 18, I got into the personal development sort of journey with one book and then added on to that. But a year prior to that, when I was 17, we were in Dubbo, New South Wales. If you've never been, it's 38,000 people, small place.
Yep.
And my father, quite an entrepreneur, actually introduced me to some marketing materials from USA and from Australia. And I got really hooked on that, right? Really hooked on how to grow a business using marketing, using sales. And I devoured this material from a number of sources. And so what happened was two things happened when I was 24. One, my wife's business got sold. So I was married at 22, still married today, which is good news, same person. And the family business got sold as well. So in late 1993, and when I was just 24, I was basically unemployed. And so I decided to start a marketing company, right, in Dubbo. Right, we'll do marketing for it. Anyway, that led to some seminars. So I did a lot of work in marketing, sales, and customer service, and particularly phone sales. So I was running these seminars in and around Dubbo, had no idea what I was doing, right? Going broke 1,000,000 miles an hour running these seminars because the seminar business, is a very fickle, expensive, and difficult business. And so I'm going broke 1,000,000 miles an hour. And one day, this accountant turns up. His name was Ellis Ryan. And he comes to my big seminar of 8 people at the pub in Dubbo, right? Big success coming on here. And he says to me, this is really awesome. Will you come to my town and do this for my clients? I said, where are you from? And he said, Coonamble. Now, Coonamble is about 2.5 hours north of Dubbo. Yeah. And it's got about 3,500 people, 2 accountants only, I found out. And I said, sure. I said, how many clients have you got? And he said, 126. I said, great. So let's put on a seminar at the RSL Club, charged a cover head price to get in. And 56 people turn up, Andrew. 56. We're going, wow.
Half his client base.
What's that?
Half his client base.
Half his client base, yeah. And so and I made a profit of $2,500. I'd never made a profit before on these seminars. I thought to myself, these accountants are awesome. And literally, I didn't realize at the time it would be a life-changing decision, right?
Yeah.
So that was May 20th, 1994. I realized the business model back then, the accountant could fill the room, but I couldn't. I'm going to accountants. So I started cold calling accountants all through New South Wales. And so, look, I'll do the seminar for you. It's really awesome. You'll be seen as the hero. I'll present it. I'll take the risk on the money. And if there's anything left over, that's mine. And they've gone, yes, 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 yes. And then they would give me their database. They give me three things. They'd give me their database, their letterhead, and their signature. I'd manage the mailing, direct mail, right? Yep. So you imagine that, right? Because you've got an accounting firm. You imagine some 24-year-old upstart punk saying to you, hey, I'll do the seminar for you, but you've got to give me your database, your letterhead, and your signature. And you're going to go,
three most valuable things in the office.
The most valuable things in the office. Anyway, I convinced many, many accounting firms, including a current Big Four accounting firm, would you believe, to do this, who shall be nameless. So that led on a journey. At the end of that year, the seminar business was a stupid business, but I got picked up by a company called Results Accountant Systems. I then traveled the world with them for the next 6 years, been a trainer, ended up running that company in Australasia in the late 90s. And then since then, started a whole string of my own businesses as well. But accountants have been my life, So now 27 years in May 2021, and I've still got a lot more left in it. I've worked with firms in 18 countries directly, trained over 185,000 of them, created a bunch of different products, coached personally over 600 firms, added more than $1 billion in profit to those 600 firms. And so accountants have been my life. I've stuck there. I'm going to stay there. I'm not going to deviate. It's a niche market. I'm not an accountant myself, so I left school when I was 16. But I've just decided accountants are the thing. Yeah. They're very loyal, very reliable. They can be a bit difficult, but like every target market's difficult. But super dialed in. I know exactly who we're dealing with, know how to find them, and they buy things. It's great.
And it's interesting, accountants can be interesting, and I don't refer myself as an accountant anymore because I think accountants can carry that stereotype of a, very traditional grey suit, unable to deal with people, or all those sort of frameworks. Now, I'm sure you've seen different aspects of the accountants that you've dealt with, but really your focus has been on entrepreneurial accountants, hasn't it?
Yep.
So people who actually see themselves as more as running a business as opposed to being an accountant or so forth.
Yeah, so the whole messaging has been very consistent. The delivery mechanisms and content's changed over the years, but essentially the messaging is that you're the trusted advisor. These clients look up to you. Why don't you step up and be a proactive, trusted advisor instead of being reactive? So the messaging of you've got a business to run, let me help you do that, has found for me as clients. And in Australia, I've done business with over 4,000 out of Australia and New Zealand, 4,000 out of the 12,000 firms. But now I'm also focused on the USA and Europe, where there's a lot more of them as well. Yeah. But the messaging has found the ones that want to run a business rather than just be, cardigan wearing, soft sole shoe suburban accountant. Yeah, that's a bit harsh.
Yeah, but I mean, there's plenty of them out there, mate. But I think the extension of this is that having learnt from you and what you've taught is that those lessons are easily transferable to other professional services, whether they be financial planning or legal or other aspects out there. But you and I have had this chat previously saying, well, why don't you go and do this other stuff? But you've chosen to stay with accountants. How important, so that niche in terms of being, inch wide, mile deep, how have you stayed just on track with focusing on just those things and not chased all these other rabbits?
Yeah, so that's been the temptation over the years. Let's just switch out the word accountant as far as methodology and content and add lawyer, for example, right? It'd all work, or engineer, or consultant or architect for other professions, as you alluded to. But I find that I think there's 4 good reasons to get super crystal clear on the target market. So number 1, marketing is so much easier. And it's been a while since we've caught up, Andrew, but I've even gone deeper into selecting not just accounting firms, but a particular style of accounting firm as well. So number 1, marketing is easier, right? So all digital presence, all marketing leads to that target market, right?
Yeah.
Two, as a service provider, even a product provider, if you did this, you're more useful to the target market, far more useful. Three, you're more efficient in your business, in my business, because the client is the same. And four, here's the capitalistic view, you can charge premium fees by being the best in the world at that particular target market.
Yeah.
I liken it to in the 70s and 80s, there was a firefighter called Red Adair, right? And Red went into the early 90s with the Gulf War, but he was called on by governments and oil companies to put out oil fires. All he did was oil fires.
Yeah.
The spouts burst, up it goes. You got to call Red Adair. He was the best in the world
At doing it.
at that particular. And I'm thinking, wow, cool. You can make a damn good living and create wealth from just doing the one thing. And he was putting out oil fires. That's all he did.
Yeah. No, it's a great analogy there. So be that subject matter expert, and own the market if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Now, mate, when you're running, Proactive Accountants Network, you had a great annual event that I was fortunate enough to be at many of them called the Pack, which featured some of the best speakers and leading authorities on culture, on leadership, and so forth from around the world. Mate, which one of those speakers, and there's a ton that I've seen and that you've had the pleasure to get to know personally, which of those had the biggest impact on you?
So this conference I organised for 10 years straight. I had one simple objective: make it the best conference in an accountant's calendar, right? Accountants go to many events and conferences and seminars. I wanted to make this one the best one they ever attended that year. So that came with not just locations, entertainment, fun, but the lineup of speakers, which was, to me, the main thing. And we would have upwards of 10 to a dozen speakers, paid speakers, so everyone was paid properly, full fee, plus travel from all over the world. So I'm gonna name four, right?
Yep.
Because I don't know how many I hired over the years, but it'd be 50 to 100, who knows, right? I've got no idea. The four, for all different reasons. And I believe one you've interviewed, Jack Daly on sales.
Yep.
And Jack, and all these I've become friends with since. Jack is just a sales machine, can teach people how to sell, can teach sales management. Amazing. Vern Harnish on general business. So Vern, he was amazing when it came to not any one specific aspect of business, but the whole business aspect.
Yeah. The growth guy.
What's that?
The growth guy.
Yeah, growth guy, all growth, yeah.
Yep.
Warren Rustand on leadership. I'd bring these speakers in, and Australians are renowned at conferences for not giving standing ovations. First time I brought Warren, and he got 2 standing ovations in 3 hours. Right?
Yeah.
2, like from the 350 accountants. Wow, right? I didn't realize, but the second time I hired Warren, we got it out of him that at one stage he was considering running for president in the USA.
Wow.
And he's actually just put out a book, which I've just got. I was just reading it the other day. So Warren there. And then lastly, Dan Depani. Dan Depani's an ex-monk and ex-Hindu monk. I met him in Bahrain at another conference, and then I decided to hire him to speak to my audiences. And he's just been on, taking teachings of Buddhism on being a Hindu monk and bringing that into business and personal development. So there's 4 for you. Very different people.
And I've seen all of them. They're all exceptional, exceptional thought leaders in their own space, and great learnings out of all of them. And I'm fortunate enough to have a couple of those on my friends list as well. So
cool.
They're all outstanding people. So mate, that's great. Mate, over business, you've had an interesting journey so from when you started doing the seminar gig to where you are today, and it's sort of gone in a bit of a loop where, your seminars, coaching accountants, events, then into a software company, and then back to your roots. So, mate, if you're happy to, I'd love to hear some of that journey and what some of your key learnings are from that journey that you've made.
Yeah, you bet. So I started a coaching business in late 2005. That's when we got together, 6 or 7, I think it was, Andrew, I can't remember. Yeah. And that was going great. But then we got offered to be acquired by a large multinational company. And they said to me, we like everything you've got, because there had a bunch of products that weren't monetized, content, a couple of bits of software. And there was a big number, right? It was a life-changing number they put on the table. They said, well, we like everything you've got, but we don't like your coaching business. I said, well, that's where all the money is. They said, we like these other products. And so quickly I realized that unless I monetize this deal's going to fall over.
Yeah.
And so I monetized an online subscription in 2013. We did $1 million worth of revenue that year just with this online subscription. And it gave me a taste for valuation software online subscription based, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, the number kept climbing. Anyway, the deal fell over. The deal fell over not for the reasons for us, but for some reasons on their side. But it gave me a taste of valuations and realizing that if I'm going to create wealth, by the way, this line of thinking has turned out to be incorrect, right?
Yeah.
My line of thinking was, if I'm going to create serious wealth out of this business with accountants, I need to turn the coaching business into a software business, right? And so we went down that track, released some pretty interesting software. The accountants went bananas over it. And, the price point on the subscription versus the coaching was 5 times less. So basically, for every coaching client we lost, we'd have to sign up 5 subscription clients to get square. And I always remember this whiteboard graph that I drew, and there was an intersection point where at that month, we ran out of money, right? Because as one declines, the other one's not growing fast enough at that point, right? And I was bang on the month. And that's when I realized, if we're going to get serious about this, we need to raise capital and get investors to fund this business. Already put $6 million of our money into it out of profit. Sort of business partner.
Yeah.
At the time, we're 80-20, I was 80%, he was 20%. And we put $6 million in, and then we raised money, right? We raised money, launched actually at one of the conferences you mentioned in Bali. You were there. And raised $12 million worth of capital to fund this technology business. And I was all in. And I look back at, you talk about lessons learned. One of the mistakes I made on what I was chasing was what we used to call a something for all strategy, which was, there's all these 1.3 million accounting firms out there. Let's create something all can buy. Man, that was, in hindsight, a really dumb idea. And so we had products, we had services, we had, you're a $200,000 accounting firm, we've got something for you. You're a $20 million accounting firm, we've got something for you, right?
Yeah.
Really, so we were so thin on, and we had so many different products and solutions, which created need of people, need of capital. Anyway, as a result of this, we did certainly turn the business into a technology company, got it to profitability, but that also came with governance, board of directors. I was still a majority shareholder. That's to say, 3 years ago, the board and I had a major dispute. Some would call it a fight, some would call it a punch-up, some would call it whatever you want to call it. But I didn't agree with what they were doing, so I told them where to go, and they got rid of me.
Right.
So I didn't get the exit I was looking for, but I got exited from my own business, right?
Steve Jobs.
Well, I haven't come back yet. And maybe I never will. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
But definitely got, that was a big wake-up call. A really big wake-up call. And that was in April 2018, so 3 years ago at the time of this recording. And what happened was, as I look back on that, I was working my tail off. There's something for all strategy, chasing, you talk about shiny objects. It wasn't chasing another target market. It was chasing target markets, as in we were in Australia, New Zealand, USA, Canada, England, all through the UK, Sweden and Finland with joint ventures and going bananas, right? It was so crazy that, as my wife says, she says, all of your garbage got unraveled in one go, right? Because what happened was when I was exited, and I think there's a book in this particular story, but not for today.
Yeah.
All of my business assets were tied up in the other company, which I couldn't access. We had 196 shareholders. My wife and I, 35% between us of the equity, biggest shareholders. and everything, right? And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was giving the biggest gift ever, which was a complete blank sheet of paper. IP, I've written at that stage, 3 books. I've now written 4, but the 3 books I couldn't use. Other IP, systems, processes, people, everything you can think of in a business got locked away from me.
Yeah.
And so with this blank sheet of paper, I did something that has been absolutely life-changing. I asked myself 5 key questions. And this is when you're in the weeds like I was, traveling, crazy business building, just working tail off, you can't see it.
Yeah.
But the 5 questions in order that I asked myself were critical to, taking a full reset. And question number 1 was, what do I want my business life to look like?
Mm-hmm.
So I described in detail. By the way, the answer to these 5 questions took me about 4 or 5 hours to do it properly.
Yep.
Answered in detail how I would work, right? Travel time, type of travel, sort of work that I would actually do, not what products, but actually the work I would do. Business life, one of them was, for example, we must be able to run the business on an iPad or a small computer.
Yep.
Because for personal travel or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Question 2, what do I want my numbers to be?
Mm-hmm.
I was always chasing 10,000 accounting firms and 100 of their clients per accounting firm. Therefore, 1 million businesses positively affected through 10,000 accounting firms.
Yeah.
I got sucked into the whole start with why movement. I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek's and everyone that promotes that. But my why was all about changing the world. And I realized I don't need to change the world, I need to change my world, right? Yeah. And so less clients. Did the whole Jerry Maguire thing, less clients, more per client, right?
Yeah.
So I set numbers around client count, maximum client count, set numbers around how much work I would actually do, how much I would charge, how much I'd earn, et cetera, right? So numbers. So question 1 was business life. Question 2 was numbers.
Yeah.
Question 3 was, what products and services or product do I want to sell and deliver?
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, I have sold and or delivered about 20 unique different things to the one target market.
Yep.
That conference is one of them, for example, that you mentioned. And I realized, you know what? I'm going to pick one, talk about niche within a niche within a niche, right? Not only have I narrowed the market by volume of client, I've also said I'm only going to have one product, one service, right? And this is the one I enjoyed the most, which was the coaching service. This is the one that had the most impact to the small group of firms that we helped. This is the one that made the biggest difference to those firms and created the best financial freedom and time for me. Mm-hmm. So that was a no-brainer, right? Yeah. We're going to do one. Question 4 was, what culture do I want? Working environment, people located, for example. And one of the answers to that was no office. I do not want an office because I've had the offices. I want a dispersed team if I had a team. And, my office is my clubhouse for my golf course. So that was right. This is what and a lot of these answers were what I don't want because I'd been in business for 25, 30 years or whatever. And you sort of pick up, this is what I don't want and this is what I do want. And then question 5, who is my ideal client, my target market? Mm-hmm. Now, they're always going to be accounting firms, but I decided I'm going to get really focused on style and type of accounting firm and size. And so there, and the ones that would work with me in that way. So this is business by design, really designing. And I had this opportunity with this blank sheet of paper, designing from the ground up exactly how I want it to be. Yeah. And it's turned out better than I designed.
Yeah. And that's really interesting because that's kind of where you started originally. You started there originally. I'll say, went off track, and this is perhaps a question for another time, but and this might be over a glass of wine at some point, but where did you go wrong? Like where did you lose sight of what that core was, which is originally where you started, just to circle back largely to that? in the end anyway?
I think I went wrong. There were some operational things I definitely did wrong. Of course, there's always a list of that. But the whole idea of creating something for everybody in the one niche market, I think that coupled with the structure of my board were the big ones.
Yeah.
Chasing solutions that, we would have people ask us, so what do you guys actually do? It wasn't clear enough. And so we're all over the bloody place.
Yeah. Is there any learnings, Rob, out of that, having gone and raised capital and then put a board in there? Because, a lot of people that will listen to this podcast will get to that trigger point at some point in time where they want to go and maybe do a private equity deal, or they want to scale and bring in business partners or whatever it might be. Is there any particular learnings that you can share out of how that transpired and the board and how they got selected that people need to be aware of, or is they get
number one learning, don't lose control of your own board.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good insight. Don't lose control.
So if you look at some of the big IPOs of the last decade, Facebook, Google, and others, in the US, they call them preference shares, where the likes of Zuckerberg, Sergey, and they're from these big companies, they structure it in such a way that they can't get ousted. Yeah. Right? And I did not do that at all in my small company. Yeah.
But I think that's a really good and valuable insight, is to make sure if you are thinking about going down that path as an entrepreneur, is that you make sure you get the right advice from your accountant or from your lawyers or whoever's helping you with the capital raising to make sure that that doesn't happen.
I think even better advice, not just the technicalities of that, is seeking out people who've done this before, because a lawyer or an accountant, with the greatest respect to both, probably haven't raised capital for their own company.
Yeah, really good point.
Yeah, because service companies like that don't need a lot of capital to get started. Yeah. But to seek out, and I had a forum, by the way. I had an entrepreneurs organization forum, and it was a software forum. We went for 6 years. We traveled the world, 7 or 8 of us, meeting software entrepreneurs, SaaS, software as a service, who'd done this sort of stuff. And I still made mistakes.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, that we often talk about blind spots. And it's about opening up your blind spots to see, from other people's experience, to, what's it like to be in their shoes. You're back in, I guess, firing again now in that coaching space, and you're doing a lot of stuff in North America and other bits. What's next in terms of the vision in line with that business by design for you?
So number one is to not deviate from what we put on paper nearly 3 years ago. It has definitely transpired like that. But being an entrepreneur, the tendency is to always to deviate and to chase the shiny thing, the new product, the capital raise, whatever it is, right?
We're all guilty of it.
And so some people around me, I've said to them, the answer is always no, Rob. Right? Any idea I've got, we start with no. Yeah. So whether it be my forum buddies, the groups, some advisors I've got, a couple of employees that I've got, the answer start with no. Yeah. Right? No matter how strong you think it to start with no, we'll go from there. So the plan is to stay on course and do what I'm doing. Yeah. I do have one big idea that I'd love to execute, but I'm not too sure whether I would or not. And that is, I've met so many accounting firms in so many countries. I'd love to create a brand that highlighted the best of the best, like a network of the best of the best. Yeah. That'd be pretty interesting. To have that small group of a couple hundred firms around the world who are, by metrics, by implementation, by who they are just the best I've ever met. So that'd be interesting to do.
Yeah, that's an interesting question in terms of then what is your definition of best? And there's a lot of different ways to measure. You can measure purely on numbers. You can measure on client results. You can measure on culture. There's a whole lot of things. So, in your experience, what does a really good business look like? How do you measure that?
It's a good question, and it's one I've thought long and hard about this last 3 years, because since all the IP had to be recreated or new, for example. So I actually came up with a scoring system on that. Yeah. And it's all about implementation, actually nothing to do with the numbers of the firm. Yeah. Because the numbers of client result and financial performance, if you will, for the firm will actually fall out of this implementation scorecard. Yeah. And what it is picking up the 40 best strategies that if I knew that if a firm nailed all 40 of these, they couldn't help but have an awesome culture for people, great financial performance for the owners, awesome service for the clients. Now, I've never seen a firm nail score at a 400 out of 10.
Yeah.
But in going through that, that's what the definition would be. Anything over 300 out of 400 in that particular scoring test. And if anyone's interested, you can go to robnixon.com and bounce on there and do it for free, right?
Yeah.
And just see what it is.
I think I did it the other week. I can't remember my score, but I think I did it the other week.
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah, I think you did. We've had hundreds and hundreds do it to give you a benchmark and a roadmap as to what to do.
Yeah. One of the things that, you've done some pretty cool stuff over your time, and I know you're a big goal setter, and you might touch on, your process of doing that. But, also like learning from Jack Daly, bucket lists and all those sort of things. One of the things, and, we can sort of see it on your wall behind you is your wall of caps there. But mate, recently in Australian Golf Digest, you were, I think they referred to you as having the best backyard golf course in Australia, or it might even be the world.
On the front cover, it says the best backyard golf course in the world. So we'll go with that.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not going to argue with you because your golf course is a whole lot better than mine. So tell us more about that and how that came out of your goal setting and your structure and other bits and pieces that you implement personally.
The golf course idea, being a golf tragic, started with collecting hats from the top 100 in Australia. And on my travels, I got to play a few top 100s of the world.
Yeah.
And then one day I was actually reading Golf Digest out of the US, and I'm reading about this story of this Californian businessman who sold his business, had a lot of money, and was a bit bored, and he was reading the list of the top 100 courses in the world. He says to his wife, I'm going to go and do that. And so 5 or so years later, he completed it.
Yeah.
And I've gone, that's awesome. I'm going to do that, right? And so I got started about 10 years ago, put it down because I was too busy. And so I was been collecting these hats. And of course, the list changes every 2 years. And I thought to myself a long time ago, I need somewhere to display the hats.
Yeah.
And because they're all in the cupboard, right, in boxes. And so I thought I need to build it started with the hats. I need to build a golf course and a clubhouse to display the hats. And so what we have behind us, I'm not too sure whether this is going to be audio or
it's both.
Or video.
Yeah.
But there's a full wall of the top 100 in Australia and the top 100 in the world.
Yeah.
As it turns out, there's only 49 people in the world who've done the world 100.
Wow.
So it can be done.
Yeah.
Super hard to do. And I was tracking quite well till COVID hit. Right?
Yeah.
So that's something about the hats. And then that is a visual goal setting piece. I've done 24 of the world list and 56 of Australia.
Yeah.
Australia's a lot easier, of course, than the world list. I actually met someone the other day. I met 2 people that have done it now. I met someone the other day who actually organises golf trips to the top 100 in the world.
Okay.
So he's my new best friend in Scotland.
Okay. Shoot me that contact list, will you?
Exactly. And so I've already got 2 trips planned for next year when we get traveling again. So the golf course idea is, it's an awesome property that we bought. As soon as I saw the front yard, I thought, that is my golf course. I did have an attempt about 10 years ago at another property we had, didn't work. So we extinguished that one. But this one actually worked. And so we don't have a website. It's all very private, but there's one giant green with 3 distinct levels on it. And then 9 tee boxes around the property. So you hit 3 balls from each tee box. You number them 1, 2, and 3. Number 1 goes to level 1, number 2, level 2, number 3, level 3. And you go and score them. So it's a 27-hole configuration, par 81. We've had club championships. We have merchandise. We've got a driving range here, clubhouse, members. It's just fun. The whole place is fun.
Very cool. And you do even have a membership fee.
The membership fee is a lifetime fee of a good bottle of red wine for the seller. So when you come up here, Andrew, you select the wine and it's our wine. We put your name on it and your member number goes into the cellar. And the cellar, by the way, is in behind one of the hat walls. There's a hidden door. And we'll drink it together at some time in the future.
You've mentioned before about this journey that you've gone on with business, and there's obviously been a lot of challenges with the exiting the business and growing and scaling and all that sort of stuff. What are some of the other things and other challenges that you've gone through? I've spoken to people that have obviously been seriously impacted by COVID, GFCs, travel restrictions, all those sort of things. What's some of the things that you've particularly faced as an entrepreneur, and how have you tackled them?
I think all of them is the answer.
Yeah.
All obstacles, right? I don't know where to start on that one. I read your question. I thought, man, that's a biggie.
Yeah.
Like there's no short list on that one. Although it's been one target market, for 27 years, there's been lots of different products and companies and hundreds of people employed in there. GFC didn't affect me. COVID really didn't affect me, because we just do different things.
Yeah.
It's a hard one.
Yeah.
I don't know whether other people get this, but I get hate mail every week for years.
Yeah.
And that's just part of life. Because I'm pushing the boundaries all the time, really pushing for an accounting firm what is excellence. Some people get upset by that, and they talk with their keyboard.
I find that staggering. I still find that whole, whether it's a tall poppy syndrome or whatever it is that's around, is that, we're culturally inclined to go and have a crack at people that are having a go. And to me, that makes no sense.
The best one, so this has happened twice. The best hate mail I've had 2 invoices from over the course of about 15 years apart. One was 2 years ago. And the invoice is always the same. And it's for the same amount of money. I don't know why. $295. This is an invoice for you to pay to me for me reading your crap.
Okay.
And I just laugh because I think, how much time? I didn't force you to read my stuff.
Yeah.
You can say no.
Yeah.
Right? And then you've gone and typed up an invoice and sent it to me. Like, you get out of my life.
Yeah.
Delete.
That is stereo. I'd be inclined to respond as a once off, and if it's $295, send back $294.99 and just say your invoice is paid, but just so you know, I never pay full value.
You should be exactly right. So then there've been some funny ones. Oh no, the obstacle list is too long.
Yeah.
I think the biggest one was definitely being exited out of my own company. That was pretty tough. That's probably the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with in my business career.
No, I bet. So, mate, I know you're a avid goal setter, and perhaps with it, and love the golf hats on the back. I reckon you got a great process that you go through with this. So instead of maybe talking about some goals or things that you're yet to accomplish, I'd love if you could just share how you go about doing that at the start of every year. Sure.
So first of all, I buy this book here. It's a blank book. From the same place called Smythson in Bond Street, London. It's a little expensive leather-bound book. It's got nothing in it. It's all blank pages, and it's about $500, right? So I figure what goes in this book is important, so it needs to have an important book. That's the first thing. First thing I do every year around Christmas, I get this done before December 31 every year, is I get last year's book, or that would be currently this year's book, read the next one, and I would transfer my life bucket list into the back. I cross them off as I go throughout the year, of course. I've done one this year only, which is a little bit behind. I learned how to surf in January, so that got a cross off. So I'll transfer them to the back. There's currently 107 in there. They're always getting knocked off. Then I go and have a little ritual where I write my every habits. Every day I get to do this. Every week I get to do that. Every month, every year. I then rewrite, all handwritten, key beliefs, actions, and habits. So what I believe in. Of course, as I'm doing this every year, I'm updating, crossing off, adding, as appropriate. Then I'll put down a list of my energy and focus state, how I want to be presented every day. Then I'll write a list of what's important to me. Then things I enjoy doing, so actually activities. Number 1, golf. There you go. First on the list. Then fishing, then cycling, then four-wheel driving, snow skiing, and so on. And then I rewrite my personal values, and then I rewrite my business hedgehog, which is out of Jim Collins. Yeah. And that's at the back of the book, right? Yeah. So I do that first. Then I go to the front, and I'll write a page full of goals for this calendar year. So there'll be some income goals there, some activity goals, bucket list to complete goals. I'm going to knock off all 5 that I've set for the year. And then I write how I'm going to increase my income this year. Then I'm going to write a wealth creation for this year, lifestyle improvement plan. And so that finishes the planning. Then I write a year in review, so that in this case, 2020 year in review.
Yeah.
And then I write a statement of intent for this year. So this is a process that takes quite a while, but to me, it sets up the new year really well. So the statement of intent is, going through business, personal, family, wealth, lifestyle intent, what I intend to do and be. And then from there, I get busy writing notes in the journal. I wrote a bunch of notes for our podcast today because, I've got years and years of them in the library. One day, someone may pick this up and reread them. Yeah. I just read the whole decade's worth, actually. Yeah. And it was fascinating to see over the course of 10 years how things have changed. So typically when I've been flying, waiting on the plane, I'll reread goals and things. Yeah. And the objective is to write useful things, draw things that come to mind, plans, ideas, notes of key meetings. I don't put client notes in here, that's separately. And then cross off the bucket list and the goals as we go through them.
That's very cool. One of the key things I heard out of there, and I reckon that's an awesome process that you go through. I can probably describe this or liken this. It's a bit like building a house. And what you've got in there is you've got a lot of key foundation pillars in there about values and behaviours and goals and other key beliefs and other bits and pieces. And you're building a really strong and solid foundation that you can then build the house on top of. And I think it's just an excellent process that so many people could learn from. So, mate, thank you for sharing.
Cool. Thank you.
Mate, do you have a life motto?
Influencing lives.
Yeah.
That's it. 2 words.
Simple as that.
In 2006, I was at a conference in Bali.
Yeah. And
met a now friend, Thomas Power. I've actually spoken. You've met Thomas before.
Yep.
And we played some golf, and then he sat me down and he said, I'm going to do something on you I've only ever done with one other person. I said, what's that? He said, you'll see. And he went to the bar and got 2 beers and 20 pieces of paper.
Yeah.
And 2 hours later, 1 beer each was consumed, right? That was it. And 20 pieces of paper consumed. And he asked me question after question after question. And he said to me, if this works, then your life purpose will fall out of this.
Yeah.
And if it really works, you'll cry like a baby. It'll hit you that hard.
Yeah.
And it did. And so ever since that fortuitous moment in Bali, that's been it.
Yeah.
Influencing lives.
Yeah. And probably the realization of that has then taken you back again to that business by design and what's the core bit of what's always been there for you. So no, mate, very cool. Mate, do you have a mentor or a coach?
Yeah, many. I have a golf coach. I have a wealth coach. I have a financial planner separate to the wealth coach.
Yeah.
And I have a personal trainer for fitness. I have a business coach, and I have a small group of advisors around me as well. So I've been running mastermind groups myself for over 20 years. As you and I were both in entrepreneurs organization at the same time, involved in that for 8 years. And so, I've always had people around me who are smarter, can have a perspective that I might not see.
Yeah.
Haven't always listened, but absolutely.
Yeah. But I think it's a really important part of growth and development to surround yourself with people that can help and guide and you can bounce ideas off of. So, no, mate, that's very cool. Mate, there's been a lot of fun. Thank you. I really appreciate you giving up your time, and I look forward to catching up with you very soon.
Absolutely. Come play golf one day.
Cool. Thanks, mate.